Ichigo awakens by Talacha, chapter 74, the winter war Frazione of the Rancor, a false Karakura town. As the two sides charged towards each other, a massive bulbous thing appeared through another garganta. Before anyone could process what was happening, the Rancor and Soul Reapers clashed. Dozens of blades clashed against each other, along with the smacks of pounding flesh as fists and kicks struck the targets, all while the massive creature split open and released a massive torrent of blackness that was filled with Gillian masks that soon formed into Gillian soldiers. The swarm was quickly countered by Kyakkyo, unleashing his Sanpakuto's power as his hundreds of thousands of blades tear them apart. Komamura immediately sought out Tosen and singled him out for combat, striking him away from the rest of the battles with his astral bolas. Yamamoto wasted no time and immediately charged at Aizen with Shunsui and Yushiro backing him up. Dojin intercepted the two while Wonderwise immediately engaged Yamamoto. Stark lazily jumped around until he was caught off guard by Ishin. Chaos reigned as the forces blend and mixed in combat. Baragon's Frazione, six Rancor charged at six Shinigami, ready to fight to the death for their king and his ideals, while the others fought to defend the world from destruction. As soon as the groups neared each other, a girl cheerfully said bye-bye before 8 people were engulfed in black smoke and sent all over the battlefield to have their fights. Homura and Shizuku stood side by side, facing the two Rancor they decided to fight. Gigo Vega, a slim and youthful Rancor with a saber-toothed cat skull mask on his head in modern style robes, and Nirgi Parduok, a large and heavy set Rancor with a thick helmet that had small tusks on the sides. So, which one do you want to play with, Shizuku? Homura asked, pulling out her Tanto dagger. Why let them think it'll be a one-on-one? Shizuku returned, pulling out his katana. You know how we fight. For fun, the sisters returned cheerfully. Flow, Seikuken. Homura's Tanto rippled like water before curving like a snake's fang with the snake head guard. As playful as ever, sister. Shizuku sighed. I think the only time you were quiet was after you went to the Kuchiki house when Ichigo had. He was saying before Homura stomped on his foot, blushing fiercely. Right, engulf Moku. Shizuku winced as he spun his transforming sword until he held a long black scythe. You really think you stand a chance, Soul Reapers? Vega asked, smirking at the two maliciously. A scrawny boy and a girl with no chest to speak of. Nearly groaned, disappointed in the matchup. What a letdown. The two were about to charge when the siblings disappeared from their side and only dodged when their primal instincts roared at them to move. They dodged the swinging scythe blade that would have claimed their heads, only to brush with death when Komura spun out from beneath them and missing their vital neck veins as they dodged again. Homura and Shizuku Shiba, Homura said, losing the childish glee as she displayed. Either switch sides or die. Shizuku continued pointing his blade at the two. The Rancor growled and pulled out the blades. Suit yourselves. Findora versus Ganju. The noble stood across from a blonde figure with his mask acting as a helmet covering his head and eyes with the chin strap keeping it on. He had large shoulder pads with thigh-high boots and knife extensions on his wrist. Ganju glared at his opponent while surveying the surrounding area. Before we begin, I want to ask you something, the Rancor stated. Ganju reached behind him and pulled out his canteen before gesturing for the Rancor to continue. What seed are you? Name's Ganju Shiba, third seed of Squad 14. Shiba man answered before taking a few mouthfuls from the container. Yours? Ganju returned as he put the canteen back. Findor Callius, Rancor 24, the Frazione answered back. The third seed, you said? Then I'll fight at a third seed level. Ganju shrugged and pulled out his Asushika, already in Shikai. Fine by me, he told Rancor, getting ready for combat. This is where I'm supposed to tell you, switch sides and you'll live. But something tells me you'll decline. Findor merely grinned as he unleashed his blade. Exacta, he said before dashing towards Ganju. The Shiba man smiled before throwing a bag at the Jarjana Rankar, who slashed it in half and ended up with a face full of red dust. What the? He started before coughing up a storm. It burns! He yelled out as his eyes began to water under his eyes. The only after sensation was something that felt rough and gritty tearing across his waist. He felt another attack coming and dodged out of the way and onto a building. What was that? Findor demanded between coughs. Shiva style, super spicy pepper bomb. Ganju answered, removing bits of cloth from his blade. I'm not exactly the strongest or the fastest, so I need to make up for my lack of fighting skills with clever tricks. I don't exactly play fair. He pulled out his canteen again and drank some more. Findor recognized a slight rise in his opponent's Reishi. I also burned through my energy like no one's business, so I appreciate you giving me the chance to replenish. He put the container away and got ready to fight again. And I also appreciate you fighting at a weaker level. If you really think that level of power is a third system, then might as well be a captain. I'd like to say that I'm happy you noticed. Findor said, his mouth set in a grimace. I am indeed still holding back and will get much stronger. He began breaking off pieces of his mask until 3/4 of the mask was removed, revealing a single gray eye surrounded by purple markings. I would get incredibly stronger, but you said you don't play fair. He flashed in front of Ganju and punched him in the stomach, the dagger piercing into his flesh before sending him flying through a window in a nearby building. I'll let you replenish your Retsi though, Findor called out as Ganju got out of the building, bleeding from numerous scratches. It wouldn't be an interesting fight if you died because you ran out of energy. Abirama versus Ikaku. I'm gonna break you, the Rankar called out. He had no jacket, only sleeves, and his body was covered in ratatouilles with a beak-shaped mask resting on his head. Gonna kill you, gonna kill you, gonna kill you. He kept on yelling in some sort of pre-fight ritual. His opponent, on the other hand, lucky, Ikaku sang as he did his pre-fight dance. Me. He finished with his traditional pose as the two waited for the others. What the hell was that? The Rankar yelled, completely perturbed by the bald man's dance. That was my lucky dance. Ikaku responded, thinking it was obvious. I tend to do that when I feel like a good fight is coming my way. I let you do your thing, so what's the problem? My ritual was meant to psych us up. We both shouted about how much we're gonna beat each other up to get us in the mood. He continued, getting more annoyed than anything else. That's fair. The lieutenant conceded, understanding the need to get the blood pumping. Squad 11 members are always excited for a fight, but if that helps you, then sure, I'll do your ritual. Just one thing first, Ikaku said with a smirk. The name's Ikaku Matarama, Lieutenant of Squad 11. Yours, Loy Baranga's number 1 fraction, Rankar 22, Abirama Reder. He shouted, already feeling like he was getting back in the mood. Now let's do it. I'm gonna crush you, Ikaku Matarame. I'll remind you. You said that when I'm beating your skull in, Abirama there. Ikaku shouted back. So much better when we know each other's names, isn't it? It really is. I'm already raging to go. Redder returned, feeling restless as his blood pumped through his entire body. Let's do this! Ikaku shouted as the two charged at each other. Abirama threw a punch. Ikaku swung his sheath. The greater reach granted to Ikaku won him first blood with a loud crack. The two separated, though Ikaku kept up the offensive, still aiming to strike down the Rankar, who took a few more hits. Some Ikaku jumped back when Abirama started shaking and chuckling in amusement. I should have joined you in that dance of yours, because now I feel lucky. Leather said, bearing a more manic smile. Escapa, Aguela! He shouted as a torrent of wind wrapped around him for a few seconds before two large red wings revealed the chains of Rankar. His mask completely covered his head, feathers covered his body, and his hands and feet gained bird-like claws. Let's have some fun, Madarame! He cried out as he took flight. With pleasure, Ikaku called out before slamming sword and sheath together. Extend Hozu Kimaru. Charlotte versus Charlotte versus Yumichika. Okay. A drag queen Rankar sang while doing stylish poses and clapping. His Majesty Lord Barango's number one fashion is here. Charlotte Giuliotane. He had long, wavy black hair, large glossy lips, and blue eyes with his mask as a tiara. He wore loose pants with a small white top that exposed much of his body. Charlotte was about to continue until he noticed that his lone audience member had his eyes shut. Silence, please, Yumichika said, unsheathing his sanpakto. I'm communing with my sanpakto. Fine. Julian said with a pout. But that was rude. Ignore my beautiful entrance like that. Though I guess it's fair being taken by the side of one as lovely as me, he said, just as he was impaled by 6 beams of light. Bakudo 61, Riku Jokoro, Yumichika said after casting the incantation quickly and quietly. Actually, my sanpakto and I were talking about how ugly you were, and that it would be best if you became fertilizer instead. Now the annoyed power was replaced with shock and rage. Ugly! The worker yelled out. How dare you, Bakudo 37, Suriboshi! Yumikicha interrupted again, throwing a ball of blue light that wrapped around the Rankar's mouth and solidified into a tight mask. Normally, I'd fight with Aikido, but I feel the need to end this quickly. Terran Frenzy, Kujaku. He unleashed his blade and released the glowing vines of his sword's true Ishikai, wrapped around the couplet of Rankar and sprouting the buds of the sooner to be flowers. Goodbye, and reincarnate as something truly beautiful this time, the Shinigami said as the Rankar felt his life being sucked away. A Pow versus a Amagai stood across a tall giant Rankar, easily towering over him and every other Soul Reaper. The mask was a plate going across his square jaw with 2 short horns jutting from the edges, with some odd green triangles on his cheeks. His uniform was more stylized in Chinese fashion, with some discernible hollow hole or sanpakdo. You are really big, Amagai said, trying to get a read on the stone-faced hollow. Indeed, the Rankar agreed, looking down at the lieutenant. Are you really my opponent? Amagai offered a friendly smile. Shizuku Amagai, Lieutenant of Squad 14. You're welcome to check for yourself. He offered something that Rankar seemed to like. Very well, he said, raising his fist to strike at the Soul Reaper. I'm Cho Neng Po, Rankar 25, and this is my punch. He threw his huge fist at Amagai, which Amagai easily deflected and returned his own into opposed stomach. The force of the attack actually pushed the Rankar back a bit. I think I'd best end this quickly, Amagai thought as Pao started laughing. Not bad considering your size, he said with a grin. Amagai continued smiling. That was actually a force of habit, he said, unsheathing his sanpakdo. I used to be a part of the Onmitsukido, where martial arts were mandatory. It looked like you just had a power behind your punch instead of any technique. Shame. I was hoping for a challenge. Pao's grin was slowly growing into an annoyed sneer. Is that so? He asked, pulling out his sanpakdo from inside his sleeve, something that was like a toothpick compared to the wielder. Yep. Bankai, Amagai said as a wall of flames surrounded the pair. Reika Goin Kaku. His sanpakdo took the form of a large red hook blade with jagged eyes on the inside, and a large white shell covered the hilt. The red of the blade was glowing red with heat as fire spread out of the shell. Pao was stunned with disappointment. Bankai, that is your Bankai? He asked, sounding let down after hearing about how impressive the final release was supposed to be. Yep, Amagai replies that his blade already in Pao's body before he knew what happened. The blade heated up as the pain stunned the Rankar from moving. Go in the Ryuga. Shizuki said as one by one, geysers of flame burst out from all over the Rankar's body. Choneng didn't even have time to scream as he was consumed by the flames and turned to ash. When it was finished, Amagai reverted his blade back to normal and sheathed. Sorry, Captain Love, I still relied on my Bankai. Ikaku versus Abirama. Ikaku was happy when he got his opponent, thinking he found a kindred spirit that longed for the thrill of combat. After his captain learned he had a Bankai, he demanded a rematch from his lieutenant that ended without leaving a scratch on the Kenpachi. Said it was fulfilling the promise from their first fight to have a rematch and ending the last fight he expected to have until his and Ichigo's next rematch. Not too long afterwards, he begged his captain to train him to become a lieutenant worthy of the Kenpachi. He was happy to make progress under his captain's brutal tutelage, and happy that he found himself found something that lived for the thrill of combat like him. He was disappointed and furious as Abirama earlier only fought at a distance with steel-like feathers, shooting down at the bald lieutenant. Is this really the fight you were talking about? Ikaku yelled at his opponent, dodging another barrage of steel feathers. Was that talk just hype? His words gave rather pause, just as he was about to unleash another strike. I said I was going to crush you. Abirama returned, yelling at the same volume. What's wrong with how I fight? You got me all excited for an up close and personal battle, the furious dance of death as we swing our blades at each other. The lieutenant explained, resting his staff on his shoulder. And how can that happen if all you do is shooting your stinking feathers down at me? You're not a real fighter. You're a coward. Abirama actually flinched before seething in anger. I am no coward, he roared defiantly, getting ready to fire another barrage at Ikaku. Then get down here and prove it, the Soul Reaper simply said, once again giving the Rancor pause. Fine, I'll do that, he said before stabbing himself in his chest markings and tracing their patterns. So when finished, he began to glow with power before another pair of wings burst from his back. Get ready, because I'm coming for you, Ikaku Madarame, he said with silent fury. I planned it, Bankai. Ikaku returned with his own quiet anger while summoning his Bankai and enveloped it in the whirlwind as red energy flowed around him. He soon held the triangle blades of his final release and was ready to charge when the dragon pulsated and completely failed him. Hozukimaru, everything all right? He asked his Sanpakuto as he got ready to fight. The only response he received was the red crackling energy dragons roaring at Abirama, talking a big game, but none of the skill to back it up, and none of the guts to actually put himself in danger. That to do it reminds me too much of my damned faults. Ikaku conceded as he filled himself with power. Ryomena Hozukimaru, he roared, feeling his early excitement return. Come to me, Ika! Abirama roared as he charged towards the Shinigami, only for Ikaku to fly past him and slice it off his wings with his guando. Abirama gasped in pain as he felt his wings and primary weapons severed from his body. He slammed into the building and brought a couple of floors and through a couple of floors before landing on another building. He pushed himself up as all of his excitement was replaced with fear. Now seeing that he was at a disadvantage, as Ikaku showed up in the building. Wait, I heard that Soul Reaper Soul Society's recruiting. I'll switch sides. He pleaded before Ikaku charged and slammed his spade into Abirama's chest, cutting him in half. We don't have room for cowards. Ikaku returned as he undid his Bankai and letting the two halves of the Rancor fall to the ground. Man, I was really unlucky today, he said as he left his opponent to die. Ganju versus Findor. The fight was not going well for the noble. Findor decided that he had enough of Ganju's tricks and bombs and released his resurrection while removing most of his mask. The result gave him two lobster pincers, the right one being huge while the left was little more than a gauntlet. The seed was bleeding from numerous cuts and missing a chunk of his arm after getting hit with some high pressure water blast. But the Rancor did keep his word and let Ganju take a break to drink from his canteen. That's where they currently were. Findor standing strong and Ganju taking the last mouthful of his canteen. "At whatever you've been drinking?" Findor asked, smiling at the idea that the annoying ant could finally be crushed. Ganju gave his canteen a few experimental shakes to confirm that it was truly empty. And through his blood-lost hazy eyes, he surveyed his surroundings. "Yeah, well, we might as well end this," he admitted, sticking his canteen on his back. "I know I don't deserve this, but you mind if we settle this man-to-man in an honest duel?" he asked, taking note of some parts of a building falling apart. "And why should I?" Findor demanded, glaring at his opponent, who held out his arms. "Out of bombs, and it's only a matter of time before I run out of reishi," Ganju said, sounding pathetic. "Not hard when he was already bleeding to death. Do whatever you want afterwards, but let me die a man with some honor," he pleaded as he jumped down to the streets and held Sabakto out, ready to fight. Findor sighed as he landed across from Ganju. "Very well, you saw excuse for a Shinigami," the rancor said as he leveled his pincer. "I'll grant you that." Before he could charge, the ground gave way beneath him in an ever-expanding pit made of sand. Within seconds, he was trapped in the very center and buried to his chest, with more sand pouring in from the side. "You said you were out of tricks, that you wanted to die with honor," he roared in anger, swinging his arms in an attempt to free himself. "I said I was out of bombs," he heard Ganju reply as he appeared at the edge, looking down at Findor. "I never said I was out of tricks. You should have seen this coming. Was anything you said to me the truth?" Findor demanded as Ganju straightened out, as if he finally had the chance to catch his breath. "Yeah, I do burn through my reishi very quickly, and I do rely on tricks and traps," Ganju admitted. "My Sabakto can create and manipulate sand, but doing so is taxing in proportion to the amount of sand I'm controlling," he explained as the pit expanded to the basis of two tall buildings, causing them to buckle and collide. The pieces that fell off landed in the pit and collapsed into more sand, shaking and making Findor's eyes widen. "Yep, you guessed it," the noble said with a smirk. "You've been surrounded by sand since we came here." "Since the start of our fight?" the rancor asked, a creepy sense of despair climbing into his head. "Since this replica town was made," Ganju returned, I've been chugging a reishi restoration potion for over a week, waiting for this chance." He dispelled his shikai, sheathing his Sabakto, and letting the entire city block collapse into sand. Ganju barely escaped with Shunpo, while Findor's screams were silenced in the avalanche. "Sorry to do it that way. Getting buried alive is nothing short of horrific," he said before pulling out a flare and lighting it. And then he collapsed. Homura and Shizuku versus Gyo and Nirgi. Gyo and Nirgi were already in bad shape, even with the power of the Resurrectionists. Gyo's had a more tiger-esque pattern with squared blades at his wrist and another attached to a ponytail he grew. Nirgi became a green elephante. Though he still had his normal head, he did also have a long trunk, while his helmet had more pronounced tusks, and enhanced speed and enhanced strength did not aid them too much when they were unable to predict the movements of their opponent. "Damn brats!" Gil yelled, slashing at Homura, who faded into black smoke just before the blade could touch her. He saw a wisp of smoke forming above him and dashed towards it, expecting to catch his prey at her most vulnerable. It wasn't until he was within arm's length that the building fall out of it, trapping him underneath it as it fell back into the earth. Shizuku was decidedly less playful than his sister as he swerved and dodged every swing back at him and countering with another slash. "You screwy bastard!" and Nirgi yelled, swinging his trunk at Shizuku, who twisted around the appendage and hooked his scythe blade underneath it and leaving a nasty gash. As Nirgi clutched his nose in pain, Shizuku disappeared in black smoke and reappeared on a building some ways away from the rancor and was soon joined by Homura. Why do we have to be so weak?" Homura complained as Gigo broke free from the rubble he was trapped under. All we're doing is slightly cutting them. Big sis Kukaku would be frustrated if she saw us now." I'm sure she knows that Captain Ukitake wanted to prioritize our ability to channel Reishi. Shizuku reminded his sister of the tutelage under the kindly captain. Besides, haven't even used our hollow masks yet. How about we go further? Homura asked, looking over in the direction of the other Shiba clan members. Big bro Ganjo already finished his fight. The boy looked at his sister, already understanding what her plan was. All right, but who should fight? He asked before Homura hugged him. Very well, I promise I won't be long, he said as the pair were engulfed in the black smoke and the rising Ryotsu alerting the Turankar. The two wasted no time charging and firing their zero, only for them to be hit by a blast of dark energy. As Shizuku stood tall with his skull mask over his face, the next instant he was between them and swinging his blade. Nearly dodged while Gigo slashed, but was intercepted by the shaft of the polearm weapon. Like Shizuku knew what the attack was coming. Glowering in fury, Gijo's canine fangs on his mask pointed to Shizuku and fired like bullets to the visor, who leaned back to dodge and keep off Vega's chest. As he flew back, Nirgi caught him in a death grip, a bear hug, and began to crush the visor. This is the end, Gijo yelled as he charged the zero. Nirgi bracing himself to take the blast to ensure their enemy gets vaporized. As the blast of energy closed in on the pair, Shizuku teleported out of Nirgi's grip and reappeared behind the Rankar. The Frashun took the full blast of his allies' attack, and when the zero blast died down, he swung his scythe and sliced the mammoth in half before releasing his own energy blast at the apex of the swing and striking Gijo. The saber-toothed Rankar fell to the earth and landed with a crash. Shizuku looked down on his fallen adversary and used his power to teleport several more buildings above him and dropped the many tons of rubble down on the Rankar. A black smoke engulfed him again, and the siblings were two people again. Whew, that took a lot out of me. Homura panted as exhaustion hit the pair. We should get out of the way and recover. We're no good. We're no good to anyone as we are now, Shizuku advised as they made their way to Ganju. End of chapter 74.